Also, ignore, oh, I just flipped you guys off. Ignore the broken nail. Hello everyone, my name's Allie. Welcome back to my channel, Prairie Purl Knits. This is my knitting podcast, which is, I believe, episode 5. Can't believe I've been doing this for 5 episodes. But okay, love that. But this is my knitting podcast where I talk about my knitting, obviously, and now a little bit of spinning. I did it, guys. I learned. It's not good, but you know what? Like, my actual spinning is not great, but I'm learning, and that's okay. I'm gonna have grace with myself. I can't be perfect at everything the first time I try it. But I do have some unfortunate news about a project that I was working on for a while, and we'll get there. But I do have a new cast on as well. 2 new cast ons actually, and then some acquisitions at the end on top of my spinning. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into it. I'm gonna start with my works in progress, but not really a work in progress anymore. But it's not really a finished object either because I have to frog it, and I'm so sad about it. It is this. This is my Midlands cardigan by Penrose Knits, and I knew when I bought the yarn it probably wasn't the best choice because it is a side-to-side garter stitch cardigan. It does grow a lot. Garter stitch grows, so it is better to have a more sticky yarn, a stickier wool to work with. And for some reason I decided to use like an extra fine merino and yak, which I was like, okay, well, it still can felt, so it's probably gonna have a little bit of toothiness, so it won't grow as much. I don't know what I was thinking. That's not how it works. So I do really want this this cardigan in my wardrobe, but I think I'm going to have to use something else. I know Laura herself said that Peer Gynt is a really good substitute, and Peer Gynt is pretty accessible to me. One of my local yarn stores sells Peer Gynt all the time, so, and it's not insanely expensive, so I think I might go ahead and do that. My other local yarn store does sell the yarn called for in the pattern, but it is quite pricey here. It's like $30 a skein, which is fine if I wanted to spend that much, but I don't. Peer Gynt is there, and it is a lot cheaper. I think it adds up to like $15, 16, 17, 18. I don't know exactly how much. I think it's like $16 for 100 grams, so like $8 a 50 gram ball. So it's not $30 for 100 grams. That's my point. But yes, so I finished the button band, which was not here when I filmed last, and it was really nice. It took a number of days to finish it, but it does look really nice. My gauge was fine. I think it might have been a little bit tight. I think I probably should have gone down, maybe shouldn't have gone down much more than I did. Maybe gone up a little bit. I think I did the needle recommended in the pattern, but I think I could have done probably the needle that you use for everything, to be honest, because I did cinch it up a little bit, but there also wasn't much puckering, so I think maybe that needle is fine. I don't know. Either way, so here she is in her glory that never came to fruition, right? This grew when I blocked it, because after the button band I did block it. When I tell you it grew probably like 3 sizes, I was just trying to grow it a little bit widthwise, not as much as it did, but it also grew drastically lengthwise, and it's just not gonna work. I think if I was like 75 pounds heavier, this would fit me, and it would be great, and I would have no complaints, but I'm not, and I'm not going to change my body to fit into a knit garment. That's just not happening. I make garments that fit me, not change my body to fit a garment. That's not happening. So it does have to be frogged, which sucks too, because this button band is like going to be a bajillion tiny little balls of yarn, and then this hem ribbing was an Italian bind off. So I was hanging out with a woman that I know through my boyfriend, and she's the one who taught me to spin, and I was hanging out with her, and I mentioned this to her, and she's like, you're probably gonna have to do some cutting. And I'm like, yeah, there's very little possibility for me to be able to unpick this. I don't even want to attempt that. I also can't find a YouTube tutorial for it. I did look it up to try to find it, and I cannot. So I think that is out of the question. I might just cut the ribbing off, perhaps, because I don't want to deal with that. So I'm not going to. And then this, I don't know when I'm going to do this. I had another pattern in mind to knit this yarn up, and then I was thinking about it, and I mentioned it to the same woman, and she didn't still tell me not to, but she did make a face when I told her what kind of pattern I wanted to make with it, and so I think that it's probably not a good idea, because it was half fisherman's rib, and that does also stretch. So maybe using a yarn that clearly does grow a lot in a stretchy fabric would not be best for half fisherman's rib. So this might just become a simple stockinette sweater. I do want to knit a sweater with like a solid yarn and then a variegated mohair or sari one day. I think that would be really pretty, so I might keep this for that because that would work great with this yarn, and I'd probably still have a good amount left over. Maybe I wouldn't have to use the tiny little balls that I'd be left with, but we will see. So yeah, this was in Gathering Yarns, which is like a Canadian wholesale yarn company thing, but they also are sold at one of my, actually a couple local yarn stores to me. And it's just it's 70% merino, 30% yak in the colorway Forest, and unfortunately this is going to be not used. So I do have a ball skeined up still, and I still have a full hank that I haven't touched, and those both will be set to the side for a while, and this, when I eventually frog it, all the yarn will be set to the side until I decide what I want to knit with it, because clearly I can't knit this with it, which sucks. But one day I will get a Midland cardigan that I love, because I genuinely love this pattern. It's so gorgeous, it's so pretty. Also, ignore, oh, I just flipped you guys off. Ignore the broken nail. I want to lie and say that I slammed it in a car door, but I didn't. It came off when I was getting in an Uber. I think I lost it in the Uber. I like got out of the car and I was looking and it just wasn't there. So I'm just going to be nailless there. I'm not going to show you that nail exclusively because apparently that means I'm flipping you guys off. So maybe I should open my project notes or my podcast notes. That might be a good idea. The next project that I have to talk about is my Tonight top by Lily Kate France, or Lily Kate Makes. I should probably look up what it actually is because I think it's both, but I need to decide which one to call it. Which one to call it? Call her. She is a person, not an object. I did also stop in the middle of a row, which we don't talk about that, because I was knitting this in the car. This is such perfect car knitting right now because it's so lightweight, and it's just stockinette in the round right now. So I think we're on the front. You guys are facing the front? Yes. Sorry for the little bits of cat hair on it, but yes. So I had finished the armholes last time I talked to you guys, and then I did go ahead and knit the neckband, which I think I had the exact amount of stitches called for in the pattern pickup, I believe. I'm not going to double check it because I don't care, and this fits fine. I think it calls for about 3 inches of neck ribbing in the pattern, but I decided to do 1.5. Maybe this is 2. That's 1.5. 1.75? Yeah, 1.5. Let's say 1.5. I can't remember. But I did that instead because I wanted it to be a little bit more of a mock neck situation than a turtleneck situation that it is in the actual pattern, which is just a super, super easy modification to make. And then I think lengthwise, I've knit quite a few inches on this, which this is a 26 stitch gauge. And so it works up very slowly. And this is knit in Sanduskarn Sunday. I think it's is it one of the petite knit colors? Yes. So this is knit in Sanduskarn Sunday. I'm on my 4th ball. I literally joined it this morning. Or did I join it last night? This morning or last night? Pretty sure last night. And this is in the colorway 5591, which is Night Sky, and it's one of the petite knit colorways. And I love this color. I don't love this yarn. I was talking about it again with that woman because I had brought this with me to knit on the commute there and back. And I don't actually think I did much commute knitting, but I did talk to her about just how much I don't love this yarn. It is just dry and crisp, and I think I've mentioned this every time that I brought this up, talked about this project, but I don't love the yarn. And I know that it's going to soften up when I block it, but just working with it, it just irritates me. It is dry and crisp in a way that I don't like. But I do really like this pattern. I think it's really simple, really nice. It's very well written. And I do want to knit something by Lily again because I think all her designs are super pretty and just classic. And I'm so excited to wear this. My friend got me a new couch bag a couple weeks ago. A week ago? I don't remember. But probably a week and a half ago actually. And I've been obsessed with it. and it's this beautiful like camel brown leather bag. It's the cash and carry bag, and that with this is going to be absolutely gorgeous. And I wanted my Midland cardigan for my Calgary trip in 2 weeks, but alas, that's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna be able to re-knit that or knit another one in that time frame. It's just not gonna happen. So I think is going to be my Calgary trip piece of knitwear that I want to wear to the winery. And also I think it'll be better for the probable heat anyways. So yeah, so I'm super close to the body. I'm not making any modifications lengthwise. I was thinking about this in the car ride home. We had to go do some vet appointment stuff, but I was thinking about this in the car ride home of maybe doing like a folded stockinette hem instead of the rib hem. But I will see what that entails on doing, if you need to do that from the bottom up or you can do it from top down. Because if you can do it from top down, I might substitute that for bottom ribbing. Perhaps, we'll see. So my next project that I want to talk about was actually started after the project I'll talk about after this. But because the project I'm going to talk about after this one has some acquisition stuff, I think that would tie really well into the acquisitions section. So this is a new cast on, but it is one that I talked about in the last 2 episodes, so it's not going to be completely new. But this is my autumn alpine sweater. It's so pretty. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with it. I think, did I start stuff in the middle of the row? No, I did not. So true. But hello. Oh my god, I'm so excited to see what this looks like on camera, because it is just, I love seeing it in person. And I've taken a couple pictures of it with, like, if you've knit a circular yoke, you know what I'm talking about, where you can like do a really pretty flat lay with it. I did that and I posted it to my Instagram, which is Prairie Purl Knits. I should say I'm not super active on there. I just like to like people's posts and go for knitting inspiration and then post some stuff here and there. I was really gonna try like the content creator grind, but I do not care enough about this to do that. If it starts making me money, sure, I will, but like, I have no interest in doing that. It is too much time when I am already super busy, but I do want to post some updates here and there. But either way, this sweater is gorgeous. I love it so much. I have tried on the yoke. I'm so excited. I do have quite a bit to talk to you guys about with this project specifically. So first off, I'll tell you guys the yarn. This is Juniper Moon Farm Patagonia, and this purple is the colorway Boysenberry, and this white, I think I have the ball band downstairs by my winding station, but this is in the colorway Pearl. And these yarns together, obviously gorgeous. Love that. And the gauge situation on this. So the yarn called for in the pattern is a sport weight yarn, and it is the same wraps per inch that this Juniper Moon Farm has. I don't know what it is, but when I did my stockinette swatch, when I did my stockinette swatch, it was horrible. I was getting like 20 stitches per 4 inches going on the recommended needle, and even going down I was still getting that. And so I was like trying to figure out, should I knit a couple sizes down to get the right gauge? But there was also the issue of my colorwork swatch that I did being perfect. It was exactly 24 stitches per 4 inches, and so I was super happy about this one. But when it comes to my stockinette, it just wasn't working. And so I was trying to figure it out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna knit the size 4 because I'll probably tighten up in my actual knitting the stockinette in the project. And if it does end up a little bit bigger gauge wise in the actual sweater, I'm fine with the rest of it being a little bit baggier than the colorwork section up top. But I don't want the colorwork section up top. How to explain this? If I were to go down a couple sizes, I would still need to knit either the colorwork in a couple sizes up from what called for in the pattern, or from what I hit gauge on, and I'd also probably have to do a round of decreases after the yoke to get to the gauge that my stockinette swatch would suggest I should knit for the body of the sweater. Now, basically what I decided to do was I decided to knit size 4 because I could knit a size 4 or size 5, and I think both of them would still give me the same amount of recommended positive ease, just depended on how much I wanted. And so I decided to knit size 4 using a 4mm needle for the colorwork, and then a 3mm needle for the body of the sweater. So I think so far it's working out great. And I did measure my gauge because on this sweater, you do knit short rows before you start your colorwork. So as you can see, the back section has a bit more stockinette than the front section there, which I'm totally fine with. I know a lot of people sometimes have issues with that, where they want the short rows after the color work, not before the color work, because they don't like having that bit of extra stockinette, but it's gonna be covered by my hair, so I really don't care. But I decided to measure my gauge, and it was fine. It was on gauge going down that needle size. So I have some belief that this is going to turn out. I think even if it does end up a little bit baggier, we should be fine. I don't have, it looks like I have a lot more issues with puckering than I do. I think one, it needs to block out, and two, what's the word? It's bunched up on my needles right now, so it doesn't want to lay flat like it will in my body. But I'm starting or I guess I'm about halfway done that first, can I unroll this? Or that big flower motif. So I'm about halfway done that. I just started the lower petals. So I have the rest of this flower and then a big leaf thing to do. I think I have about 20 more rows in my chart. There's different charts for different sizes. And also, if you look, I did not do if you've seen, you know what the original pattern looks like. I didn't do the like interesting collar situation or the hem situation. I decided based on the woman at the yarn store who sold me the yarn. She was knitting this and she told me about a Sonder Yarn Co. kit that was available, and they just did a 2x2 folded over collar, and I love the look of a 2x2 folded over collar. And then I saw someone else on a Ravelry project page do the same thing, but they also put 2x2 ribbing on the cuffs and the hem, and I think I'm going to do that as well, just because I do like the hem details in the sweater pattern, like the original pattern, but also I don't know if it's necessarily my vibe. It makes it feel a lot more dressy to me than what I want the sweater to really be. I want the sweater to just be a very casual, cozy, throw on, go out to run some errands kind of sweater, go out and hang out with my friends kind of sweater. And I feel like with that detail, like it's still elevated, but like I still want it to be cute and cozy. And I think with that detail, it would just make it a little bit too dressy. So for what I'm aiming for. So I'm hoping this will work out. I'm having lots of fun knitting it. The chart is quite easy to remember what I'm doing, which is surprising. When I was doing my gray up slip over, I found myself making so many mistakes in that. And this is a lot more stitches per repeat than that, which I think the entire gray up slip over was like a 6-stitch repeat. And I found myself getting so much harder, so many more mistakes in that. But I think it's just so easy to read your knitting. And for some reason, it's just really connecting with my brain. This is also my first Caitlin Hunter pattern, and I'm finding it to be really easy. The chart's really simple. I think generally it's a good pattern, and I'm not against knitting another Caitlin Hunter pattern. There's like one specifically that I really want to knit. It's not color work, but it is really pretty. The Winter Albedo, I think is what it's called. I have a couple color schemes possibly in mind for that, but we'll see. You'll see. So that is my autumn alpine sweater. Hopefully by next episode I'm done the yoke. That's at least my goal, because I want to be on the body or one of the sleeves for my trip to Calgary, so I can work on those on the drive there and back. So my next cast on, which was actually started before the sweater but has nowhere near the same amount of progress, is a pair of socks. I put my Oiler socks on pause because I just knew I wasn't going to want to knit them after what happened last month. Still, no, that was more than a month ago now. Crazy. Either way, I started a new pair of socks. So it was me and my boyfriend's 6-month anniversary, and I knit him that hat that I showed on the podcast, and he went and bought me some yarn, as he should, and I'm knitting a pair of socks. So I'm going to talk about the socks first, and I'll talk about the acquisitions. So these socks are, let me unwind the ball. So these socks are very simple socks. I've seen so many patterns for this exact sock that are literally identical patterns, and I don't understand what's different between them. It's a very simple stitch pattern, and if anyone ever tried to sell this pattern for money, guys, come on. It's 2x2 broken rib. That's literally all it is. Like, maybe I'm being harsh, but so I did a 2x2 cuff for 20 rounds. Woo! Wow. But it is 2x2 broken rib. So after I did the So after I did the 2x2 rib for the 20 rounds, where the stitch marker is, did 2 rounds of stockinette, and then 2 rounds of 2x2 rib, and then 2 rounds of stockinette, 2 rounds of 2x2 rib. You do that for the entire leg. You do your heel, and then when you do the foot, you could keep doing that around the entire foot, or you could just do the top of the foot. I knit another pair of socks in this exact stitch pattern, and I loved them, and I think it looks really pretty in some sort of variegated yarn, because with the purl stitches, I don't know how to explain this properly, but when you're knitting, the top loop of the stitch is always in the back, which is why reverse stockinette is just like a roll, like a sea of bumps, really. And the front of the fabric, the stockinette side, is smooth and flat. When you're doing purls, those tops of the stitches are facing out, and so you also only see whatever that stitch was poking out towards you. And so if you've ever done stripes too in a sweater, you'll see that on the wrong side of the fabric, where it has that kind of row of like little dashes on around it. That is just the purl side with the purl, the top of the stitch poking out onto the other side. So you get that in this, and I think it just makes it look so cool and fun, and I'm really liking these. Now I'm gonna go ahead and just dive into my acquisitions through this project, because this is a very great segue. So I got him to get me a couple things, one of which was stitch stoppers, actually, which are on my autumn alpine sweater. I forgot to mention these, but they're so cute. And it's just a kitty in a yarn bowl. I love it, in a little yarn basket. So cute. I love cats. We might have a little bit of cat news next episode, perhaps. So I really wanted to try a new needle for socks, and so when I was with him, asked him very kindly if he would pick me up a set of Addi Flexi Flips. Now, I'll show you guys the box. So I got these Addi Flexi Flips. They're actually Addi Crazy Trio in the short length, which is 21 centimeters, and these are 2.25 millimeter needles. So this is the box, and you get 3 of these, which I'll try to show you guys them in like a way that's not crazy. But these are really interesting. One side of them is a lace tip, so it is a lot sharper, and one side is their basic tip, which has less of a taper, so the taper starts shorter, higher up, and the tip is less sharp. So like this is the lace tip, this is the basic tip, and I really enjoy these. I did not at first. In fact, first I hated them. I thought they were annoying, I thought they were stupid. I was like, this was a waste of my boyfriend's money, and then I got the hang of it. And I was like stuck on like this far into the ribbing, like literally like maybe 10 rows maximum into the ribbing, not even. Maybe 7 rows into the ribbing. I was stuck there for a week. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hammer in and try to figure out these needles. And I did. And then I knit all of this, the rest of it in like a day or two, even while working on my other projects, because those are definitely my focus. This is very much a background project to me. But yeah, I get the hang of it now, and I don't hate these. I wanted a new needle because I don't like DPNs very much. I don't hate them, but I don't like the ladders that they leave. I find myself able to keep the ladders at bay more on Magic Loop, and my issue with Magic Loop is I just don't love pulling the cable through every single time if I'm doing sleeves or a neckband. But I like this. It's nice. It's a very good mix between the two. That woman again that I was seeing on Monday, she uses 9-inch circular needles, and so I kind of want to try those eventually, but they are quite expensive, so who knows. Either way, I got that, and then got these needles, and then I got 2 balls of yarn, 2 balls of sock yarn specifically, because I've really wanted to try this yarn for a while, but it has been just not something I've been like super inclined to purchase, because I don't love going out and purchasing sock yarn. And so I made my boyfriend buy it for me. So these are 2 Zabber balls. This is Zabber Ball Crazy. This one that I haven't touched yet is in the colorway Piano Bar, and this is what it's supposed to look like, the variegation. And then the colorway that I'm actively using is the colorway Late Autumn. So on Ravelry, these socks are called my Late Autumn socks. And I also wanted these because my local yarn store got a bunch of them in. Like, they just bought so many. And this is that colorway. As you can tell, they were quite expensive. Sock yarn is expensive here. Yarn is just expensive in Canada. It is interesting. But yeah, so I got these, and I really like this yarn so far. I think it's very interesting, the fade and the variegation, but also the long fade too. It's not like a variegated yarn where it takes, you know, 2 seconds, 2 stitches to hit another color. It is a very slow fade, and I don't mind that. So the last 2 like acquisitions that I got were just simple Amazon acquisitions that I picked up because I needed them. First off, stitch markers. These are 250 pieces, and they're color coded. There's a bunch of them, which helps with my color coding because I love color coding. Me and color coding, we're best friends. And they are locking stitch markers, which are my preferred type of stitch marker because you can use them for literally anything. You can use them as circular stitch markers, you can use them as locking stitch markers, obviously you can use them as progress keepers, anything. They work fantastically. So you also use them as like pins if you're having to sew something together. These are fantastic because you can sew the corresponding stitches, not sew, but connect them together so you know where you are. I've used these for those a bajillion times, but I don't have very many. I just have like a cheap pack that I got from Joann's when I decided to place an order from Joann's so I could try out Big Twist, which Big Twist is really nice, and I'm excited that Michael's bought them, and I hope and I pray that Michael's Canada brings it in because I really want that yarn again. But because I want to knit myself another blanket. Either way, great markers. And then I got a 4-pack of tape measures. Crazy spending. There's a green one, there's a pink one, a white one, and a blue one. I only have my green and white ones out right now because the blue one is with my tonight top and the pink one is with my autumn alpine sweater. And I think actually the white one's supposed to be with my socks. So I'm gonna go put that one back in. But that's really it. It does that. Loink. So fun. Love that. Okay. That's really all I have for acquisitions. I feel like I made it sound like a crap ton more than it actually was. But it feels like a lot to me because I don't buy a crap ton of stuff, especially notions. Like this is not stuff that I normally would buy, so I'm glad that I have it though. Very, very glad that I have it. I am still waiting on my yarn that I purchased, and I am going to Calgary, and when I'm in Calgary I do plan on purchasing some yarn and a couple other things. So I will have some acquisitions next episode, hopefully, if my yarn comes in, but the episode after I will definitely have some acquisitions. So now we're gonna get into the spinning chat. It was interesting, to say the least. I am not great. I started on a drop spindle. The drop spindle was in the bag of yarn, of fiber, and it is looking bad. Guys, it's so inconsistent. It's also really hot, and I'm finding my hands get really sweaty, so I'm kind of putting this to the side for a little bit until my hands are less sweaty, because even touching this, my hands are sweating. So this is Corriedale. As you can tell, my spindle is full, but there's also, or not full, but there's a lot of like unspun sections. I was having a really hard time with this when I got home because the woman was teaching me how to spin, but I was just having a really tricky time on my own for some reason, joining yarn and stuff. But she did give me a lot of really helpful tips on drafting and stuff. I just need to get better with it. I also think that spinning on a wheel is going to be a lot easier than spinning from a drop spindle, because drop spindle, there's a lot to keep track of and think about. But this is the first yarn I ever spun. Oh my goodness. It looks insane. But there is yarn here. There are some sections, I'm gonna get close. It also wants to twist on itself, which I know the balance isn't great, but I still have to wash it, so maybe it'll be better after. But I know that there are like some sections in here that are actually really nice. Like, let me find one. I'm struggling to find one. Like this section, for example, that looks nice, right? That looks really nice. So it is definitely more of an art yarn. I'm probably never gonna knit with it. If anything, I'll knit a swatch. But it's not the best yarn I could have made. But this is Corriedale. So I went to another yarn store that I've never actually been to before. It's a pretty small yarn store. It feels more for like classes and felting and fiber rather than yarn specifically, but they do have some yarn. And this is Corriedale wool from them. It was $8 for 50 grams, so it doesn't seem that bad. And I just went ahead and spun some up. And again, not my best work, but I tried, you know, and I will continue to try. I've already asked my boyfriend for possibly an e-wheel for Christmas or our anniversary or my birthday or all three, you know, if he wants to spread the cost out, perhaps. But because I think spinning on a wheel will be so much easier with different forms of drafting, and I don't have to worry about picking up the spindle and trying to spin it consistently. I think that's also a big issue of like the bottom, you know how to use a drop spindle, where it's like, how do I explain this? So when you're using a drop spindle, obviously it gets progressively lower and your strand of yarn gets bigger or gets longer. But that bottom, I feel like I twist it so much that that bottom section over twists. And that is an issue because then it's also kind of hard and tricky to pull that twist up into the yarn above. I don't know how exactly to do that properly yet. And so it's just a bit hard, and I find myself having to unspin a little bit just to make sure that's not pigtailing back on itself without me trying to pigtail it back on itself. So I don't know, it's not perfect, and I will keep trying. I'm not going to do it for a bit because it is, or at least right now, for today. Maybe tomorrow, we'll see, because it is hot today. Oh my god, it is boiling. It feels so much hotter than it actually is. It feels like it should be like 30 degrees right now, and it's not. Actually, it might be. My mom said it might be 30 degrees today, so who knows. And I made a little label for it because I thought it'd be fun to make me feel a little bit better about it. I'm so used to being really good at things when I start them, so hard to not get discouraged by things that I'm not good at immediately, but who knows. I don't know. I'll get used to it, and also I need to grow my spinning work. So with the rest of the fiber that I'm using, although I will say I did get better. Let me say this actually, because I took a chunk off of each of the top, and then I split it into chunks, and I split those chunks into 3 strips, and out of 1 strip of the red I got the same amount out of 3 strips of the cream color, the sandy color. So not that bad. I did get thinner, though this spin I'm going to work on is a lot thicker than I intended it to be, but who knows. I'll be fine. I'll figure it out. And eventually when I try a wheel, because she did let me say that she would let me, or she did say to me that she would let me try her wheel eventually, so perhaps I will have to do that. Either way, I think that is everything that I have to share with you guys today in regards to my crafting life. Not much is going on in my life right now. I'm pretty chill. I had a couple busy weekends, and now life's just kind of summing out for a little until my next couple weekends, which are going to be quite busy. I think just around Calgary time will be quite the busy time because I'm gonna have a lot to do in not preparation, but just before I leave, because there's a couple things I wouldn't typically need to do that weekend that I need to do before, and then I'm gonna not be home for a little bit, and this next couple weeks is just gonna be busy in general because there is some possible cat stuff going on. It's all good, but possible cat stuff going on, so I'm just gonna have a lot to deal with, think about, do, and hopefully my next podcast episode I'll have more things to talk to you guys about. That'll be the podcast episode right before I leave for Calgary. So yeah, I also need to do that. I'm gonna need to film, edit, and upload that before I leave, on top of everything else. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever. I'll be fine. I'm not stressed at all. Why would you ever suggest that? Anyway, I'm gonna go make myself a sandwich and drink some water and shower and everything, so I have to go out tonight. And yeah, probably know a little bit more, and then yeah, relax, go see my boyfriend, have a good night. But yeah, that is everything that I have to talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. You guys can follow me on Instagram or Ravelry. My Instagram is Prairie Purl Knits. It's linked down below. And my Ravelry is Alyssa_is_bored. Or is there no underscore? I can never remember if there's an underscore or not. I think there is. I don't know. Either way, it's one of those two, and everything that I talk about in this episode will be linked down below. I will have everything that I can find links to. I will link down below. And yeah, that was everything today. I will see you guys in 2 weeks from now, hopefully. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.